Hi there, and welcome to the Anita CHAT podcast. I'm your host, Anita Rombo, and this is the podcast for growth-oriented women to have authentic, real talk. Nothing is off the table here, but as an intuitive self-relationship coach, you'll find the content gravitates towards mindset, intentional action, spirituality, and all things wellness. So if you're ready to learn, laugh, show up, and glow up to be the best version of yourself, grab your favorite bevy, settle in, and we've got lots to chat about. Hello and welcome to another episode of Anita Chat. Today I am so excited to welcome a guest onto the show, Megan Meyers. Megan, welcome to the chat.
Thank you, Anita. I'm so excited to be here today.
Thank you for being here. We are excited to have you. And I know I intentionally did not provide much of an introduction into who you were, and that's because I think you are probably poised to do that the best. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My introductions are always, I try to keep them short and sweet, but it's really a quick little snapshot of my story is the best way to sort of explain it. So my background is I'm a dancer, and I owned a dance school that I opened when I was 18. I owned it for 14 years, and I was a proud workaholic, running my little local dance studio, working all the time and living the dream. And then that all changed when I had my son in 2015. Suddenly, it was not the dream anymore to be working 24/7 running my brick and mortar studio, but I didn't want to give up the income. I didn't want to give up my identity as an entrepreneur, and I didn't want to give up that creative expression. And so I had a really big reason, this new baby in my life, to find a way to have it both. How can I be the mom I want to be and also, have all the things I love about being an entrepreneur? And so it led me to create my own online business. I essentially hired a coach, and on our first call, she said, why don't you package up all your information? You have a really successful studio. Why don't you share this information with other studios? And it was absolutely in that moment, it was everything I was looking for. I could work from home, but I could continue my path of what I've been doing the past 15 years. And so now today, for the past 7, almost 8 years, I've been running an online business, sharing my passion with other studio owners. And then about 18 months ago, I started helping other women do the same thing. So today, in addition to having my own simple, freedom-based virtual business that allows me to be the mom I want to be, I also help other women package up their expertise and create a freedom-based online business for themselves. So that's me.
That's a wonderful introduction. Like I said, I could not do that justice, but there's so many great nuggets even within your introduction that I want to just dive deep into. So I hope you are okay with me asking a ton of questions, because I feel like you and I speak the same love language, right? It's about how can we make our life work for us? We don't want to settle. There's so many different aspects of us that need to kind of come to balance and need to work together. And how best can we optimize that? So I think you figured out the secret sauce for you, and you're empowering so many other women, and definitely want to get into that today in the chat. But one thing that really intrigued me about you in particular was this origin story that you shared. There was a piece before you owned your own business. Do you want to spend a minute or two just talking about that?
Absolutely. And it actually wasn't before. So I think you're meaning I was a NFL cheerleader for the Oakland Raiders for a couple seasons. Yes, and it was so fun. And it was actually at the same time. So I opened my dance studio when I was 18 and sort of fell into it. I had my best friend's older sister was running a nonprofit after-school program for quote-unquote at-risk children. And she said, will you come in and teach the girls how to dance? I really want to learn how to dance. And at the time, 18, fresh out of high school, I'd been dancing, but I had never taught before. I thought, I don't know how to teach, and she said, just come in. They're going to love you. So I came in with my little, at the time, this is boombox. So, this is 2020 or 2001. And I come in with my boombox and not knowing what I was doing, taught them a little dance routine, and they had so much fun. I had so much fun. And that was the start of my teaching career. Fast forward maybe 6 months, a local studio actually closed, and I started getting calls from parents asking if they could bring their daughters to these new fun dance classes I was teaching. And they were not at-risk children. And so I charged them money, being the savvy entrepreneur that I am, even at 18, said, I'm going to charge these families. So I started making money teaching dance. I did not call this anything. I did not think I was going into business. I did not call myself an entrepreneur at this time. It was all just very natural for me. But it was a business. And another maybe few months later, 6 months later, this nonprofit organization's like, hey, Missy, you're sort of running a little business here. We're going to start charging you rent. Which was totally, which they absolutely should have done. But for me, it was that, like, hey, maybe I should actually open a studio, get a bigger space, have more control over what I'm doing. At the time, I was just teaching in a little like 10 by 10 foot carpeted room. It was not a studio. Um, so that's how I got into the teaching. But again, I'm 18, now I'm 19. I'm hardly ready to hang up my dancing shoes. So it's in this moment of I'm teaching, I now have this business and I'm loving it, but I'm missing performing myself. Teaching is not the same as performing. It's all up when you're teaching, it's all about the students. And it should be, it's all about your students and it's all about helping them. And yes, you're demonstrating, you're dancing, it's fun, but I really missed like that performance aspect. And so my best friend's older sister was a Raiderette as well. She was, I don't think she was cheering at the time. I think was done. But I had that like connection where I kind of knew about this. I knew how to do it. And I knew someone who was doing it. So it felt accessible to me. And I thought, I'm going to try out for the Raiderettes. And so I did, and especially, with her help with, here's what to wear, here's how to do your hair, here's how to prepare, and all the things that kind of give you that added edge. Went out and tried out with 400 other women and made the squad, became one of football's fabulous females, and there were 40 of us. And yeah, I cheered for 2 seasons. It was a ton of fun. The Raiders organization was amazing. The fans are super, super amazing. And it totally just ticked that box of wanting to perform again. And it was, it's glamorous, it's fun. You get to travel. We got to go to Hawaii and do our swimsuit photo shoots. I mean, for me, I'm just a average local girl. So this was all very glamorous to me, to have hair and makeup and flown to Hawaii. And, that's just totally a sort of a fun dream come true for me. So it was an incredible experience, not to mention cheering in front of 60,000 screaming fans. It's a noise that, you can't even describe. It's more of a vibration than a noise. You're literally, the stadium is humming. So it was an incredible experience.
I can't even believe it. But this just illustrates the importance of having a mentor or a cheerleader, if you will, in your court, somebody that can show you the ropes that's been there where you've done it. So whether
Absolutely.
it's in cheering, whether it's in starting your own business, whether it's, doing life, it's so important to surround yourself with those kinds of people that can help you through.
Absolutely.
So yeah, entrepreneurship at 18, like I consider myself 1 year into this entrepreneurship journey, and I'm definitely not 18 years old. I got to tell you, it's hard. I mean, I know it feels like you kind of fell into it. Like you weren't thinking that this was the path, that just one step led to another. And then you thought, okay, maybe I can make money off of it. And then it became this, full-fledged business that you were successful at. Would you consider yourself an entrepreneur, like from day one, or like how was starting your own business at 18? I feel like I'm still figuring so much out.
So 2 things. I do think I'm a bit of a born entrepreneur. I had many businesses even as a child where my parents were my only customers. So we have pictures. I would like get their shoes, and I have a picture of me. I had a little shoe shine station for my parents. 1 shoe 50 cents, 2 for $1. Amazing pricing strategy. And I had lemonade stands. I mean, I always was fascinated with like doing a service and getting paid. So my parents, of course, loved that. I was cleaning there. When I was in high school, I overheard my mom talking to a friend about, she wanted to hire a cleaning lady and she's going to be paying her like $50 or whatever. I'm like, I'll clean the house for $50. And so I did it. And like, I love being of service. So I would even like fold the toilet paper into a point and leave an Andes mint on my parents' pillow. Like, I loved that. So I was an excellent service provider and I got money. So I've always been entrepreneurial, but literally my customers have always just been my parents or like my neighbors. But I always had that spirit and loved making money. But when I was 18, I think, as you're saying, if I were to start my business now, it would be way scarier, way harder. Now I have children. Now if you go into business in your 30s, 40s, 50s, your income and, you're used to probably a full-time income and that stability. It is a lot harder. It is a lot scarier because you have a lot more to lose. I was very aware, and the benefit of starting at 18 is I could screw this up royally. I could go bankrupt, and like, who cares? I'm going to be like 25 by the time that falls off of my like record, and so there's no family, there's no risk, there's no overhead. I was still living at home. I was commuting to UC Berkeley. I didn't have any major expenses. So it's very easy, I think, to be an entrepreneur when you're 18 in that
Yeah,
sense.
for
And you're
sure.
also just very naive. Like, you don't know what you don't know. And so there's like almost no fear. So it's almost a added benefit of starting really, really young. Of course, you're a lot smarter when you're older, so that's the benefit of starting older, right? You have resources, you have experience, you have knowledge, whereas I was a complete idiot when I was 18. So pros and
Definitely pros and
cons.
cons. Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned successful business owner at 18, kind of figuring that out, and then you decided to have a family, and things kind of changed for you, and you needed to find another solution so that you could achieve the balance that you wanted. Now, I think that this resonates with so many women because I think whether you've planned a family or not, when you find yourself in this rite of passage of motherhood, you may have underestimated certain aspects that come along with it, or at least I did.
Yes.
And not only that, but just our identities change so much. So prior to becoming a mother, I can speak for myself, and I think a lot of the audience tuning in, possibly even you, will relate to this, that we're just very career oriented, very, very driven. Maybe all of our schooling and training was kind of moving us to a certain path. We've put some time and effort and years into cultivating that path with intention, and we're pretty good at it. We feel pretty good about it. And then we decide to, oh, I'm gonna be a mom now. And
Yeah.
when you become a mom, your priorities do change, your time and your energy changes, and that path or how you feel about that path may also change, or just the ability to balance it all, because
Right.
you definitely show up at work in a very different way than you may have once shown up. You might feel differently about it, and you also now have this brand new identity, and you need to
Mhm.
reconcile how all of that works together. So for you,
Absolutely.
you
Agree with
decided,
everything.
okay, so for you, you decided this entrepreneurship thing is not going to work for you anymore. You decided to seek out a coach. At what point did you feel like your life was out of balance and that you needed to make this shift?
Yes. So I had owned my studio for about 14 years at this point, and I was a proud workaholic. Proud at the time, I would have called myself a feminist. I had a few moms, so it's in a dance studio. We're dealing with moms 99% of the time. Some of them have now been coming to the studio for years and years. Chit chat with them in the lobby. I was always chatting with all these mothers. And so when I was pregnant, as I got closer to my due date, a few of them sort of mentioned, probably knowing what you just said, being these wise women further along their path than I, sort of said, Megan, you just heads up, your priorities might change a little bit, knowing that I'm this, proud little energetic workaholic. So just a heads up, and the feminist in me, of course, I smiled and nodded and took their advice in stride, very politely. But inside, I was thinking, oh, that is so old-fashioned. There's no way a baby's going to change my life. I love to work. I love my business. I love my independence. Baby's not going to change that. And of course, I could have not been more wrong. The second that baby was there, I suddenly was not willing to just live for my customers, which I had been doing for the past 14 years, gladly so. It was now I only want to be at home taking care of this baby. So it was very much an overnight shift in terms of my priorities. But I knew I didn't want to give up entrepreneurship. I mean, like I said, I'm a born entrepreneur. So I just knew I needed to simplify my business. That's what I thought it was. At the time with the studio, I had 10 employees. I had an office manager. We had 3 rooms. We had hundreds of students. We were doing all these different classes, adult Zumba, down to, little kid classes and everything in between, dance teams. I mean, we're doing everything. It was a successful studio. So I thought the secret was going to just be simplifying things. So actually, when I hired that coach, that's what I thought I was hiring her for. I actually had this program called Princess Ballerinas that I had developed. So I should also say these 14 years that I'm running my studio, I'm also obsessed with sales and marketing. So I've always had these sort of obsessed and passionate about dance, but I'm also obsessed and passionate about marketing and sales, which obviously helped me grow my business over the years. But I had all this knowledge, and I had built it into this program called Princess Ballerinas, which was built to be, I consider it my Mona Lisa of my dance studio experience, because it's marketing, it's sales, it's staff systems, it's beautiful lesson plans that the teachers can follow. It's this really incredible thematic dance experience for little girls, and it's totally unique, and it's very marketable, and it's very profitable, and it's everything it could possibly be. It's like I said, it's my masterpiece. And so when I hired this coach, I said, that's what I thought I was going to do. I'm like, I have this program, it's really, really profitable, it's really easy to run. I think I want to just open up multiple locations and simplify and get rid of like the adult classes and the dance teams, and I can just do this one thing, but sort of scale with multiple locations. Like, I couldn't get out of brick and mortar thinking. So to me, that was simplification, because I could just be marketing one thing, training staff for one thing. Although it's like, what a joke that multiple locations would not have added simplicity to my life. That would have been a vast complication, but that was the best I could come up with. And so when I hired a coach, she looked at what I saw and she agreed, like, wow, yeah, you've created this really amazing program. It's super profitable. It's people love it. It's very marketable. But her solution, which is, again, to mention what you said, the beauty of working with a coach, who can see the forest through the trees, is you don't need to open multiple locations. Why don't you just package this bad boy up and share it with other dance studio owners? If it works for you, it's going to work for them too. And so that was that light bulb moment of like, yeah. And it simultaneously gave me insane simplification. I could do this from home. It's a digital product. Now I have just, fast forward to the 6 months or whatever, when I'm doing, what I've been doing the past 8 years, I have no employees, I have no overhead, I have no inventory, nothing. It's all profit, no staff, it's all automated. But at the same time, I actually achieved incredible scale. I've shared my program with over 2,000 studio owners around the world. Tens of thousands of students have experienced the Princess Ballerina dance program. Thousands of studios have increased their profits, and studio owners have been able to, hand over to their staff so that they're not having to do it all. I mean, so it's actually been this really crazy ability to scale something and create a bigger impact, as well as make, about 4 times as much money I was making with my studio while working very part-time from home. I've never probably worked more than 10-ish hours on average on my online business this entire past, 7, 8 years. So it's just literally, it's a paradigm shift. There's no other way to describe it except an absolute paradigm shift, where it's been bigger, better, badder, bolder, more impact, with so much simplicity, so much ease, so much flow, so much like releasing all the stuff that was a pain in the butt with the brick and mortar business.
Amazing. So basically, a coach really got you to take a look at embracing the idea of an online business. But what was next? Like, did she walk you through how to package the bad boy up, or like how did you get going?
Yeah, so she was actually a dance studio consultant. She was running her own online business. So she wasn't an online business expert in the sense. She more said, here's what I've been doing, and she pointed me down the path. So I credit her for planting that seed, which is a lot of what I do with clients now too. I think a lot of us, we don't necessarily, because first of all, what we do very naturally, we take it in stride. We don't see that it's anything special because it's so natural to us. Secondly, when we've been doing something for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it doesn't seem very special to us. So it often takes that outside person to say, to give you that perspective of it. Not everyone does this, right? What you're doing is special, right? Whether it's something you naturally do or some expertise you've had. So oftentimes I would say most people need that outside person to look at them and say, here's where, you have something special that could be packaged up. But secondly, so I really credit her with that, which if she had just stopped there, I would be forever grateful, right? Because it was that seed and then I would have figured it out, because now my desire outweighed any fear, I didn't know how I was going to do it, but who cares? Like, everything's, you can figure it out. And so, but she did also point me in the direction of like, it was at the time Jeff Walker was someone, and Russell Brunson, all the big names that once you get into online business, they all have got the courses. And so I started that journey, and I started buying all the courses. I've read all the books. I've, hired my own coaches, which I had already had about 15-ish years of being obsessed with sales and marketing. So I was very happy to see that the online world is very much built on the old direct response model, which is what I used in my dance studio. So I was very poised to be like, oh, I actually already know this stuff. I've been doing all of this in my dance studio and studying all for this for 15 years. I just have to, we're just doing it on the digital version now. But it's the same logic, it's the same structure. So that was a huge advantage for me because the way it happened very quickly for me, but I like to say that because it wasn't like I was just, coming in to this totally new. Life has been preparing me for this moment, which I find when I work with clients, they look at their past and it's like you realize, wow, life has been preparing me for this moment in all these weird ways. But I mean, I essentially ran, I spent about 6-ish months sort of figuring it out and learning some online marketing and figuring out what I was going to do. But I really got to where I want to launch this quickly. And so that's Princess Ballerinas I share with other studio owners on a subscription basis. And the reason I do that is because I wanted to launch it quickly. So I thought it's going to take me forever to package up this 3-year curriculum the way I want it to be for world debut. What if I just do it 1 month at a time? Because it's a monthly curriculum. So I just packaged up my Halloween themed lesson plan in October. And I ran a Facebook ad to a free sample. I spent $500 and I had 1,400 downloads. And then I was scared this whole time. I'm this little local dance studio owner. I have no pedigree in the studio industry. I have no name. I don't even have a degree in dance. My degree is in business. So I had no pedigree. So I was very thinking total, imposter syndrome, which most people can relate to. Who's going to want anything I've created? I'm just this little local dance studio from Napa. But I ran that ad because I think my desire to be that stay-at-home mom and still make money was so great that it powered me through any fears I had. It was just, I had to try it anyway because I wanted it so badly. But I mean, I ran one ad, $500, 1,400 studio owners downloaded it. And then I just very humbly got the guts to email them and said, what do you think of this?
We all got to start somewhere. We all got to start somewhere.
But they responded so beautifully. I mean, they're educators. They're so kind. And they, had such great, they said, I love it. This is so creative. This is so fun. This is going to save me so much time. So then I just, going with the flow, it all just unfolded so naturally, saying, okay, I have a bunch of these. I'm going to start a subscription. I'll send you one a month. And it's a PDF lesson plan, and I'm going to charge $47. And I had about 150 studio owners join right away. So within 30 days, I was making more money from this new business than I was running my brick and mortar dance studio, which took me 14 years to create, staff of 10,
wow.
$7,000 a month in overhead. Crazy, just everything so much bigger. And now this is no staff, no inventory, no overhead. It happened really quickly. So I do like to share that because it can happen quickly. Of course, had it taken me 6 months or a year, would it have still been worth it? Absolutely.
So there are so many nuggets, even again, in what you just said, that I want to kind of provide my own commentary on. One of them, you talked about how your coach planted the seeds. And as a coach myself, as a soul strategist and success coach, I too see that as my role. We all come with our own unique experiences, our own unique strengths. And sometimes, to your point, we don't recognize what they are, or we don't recognize how our experiences have shaped us in a certain way. And it takes that person that can be that objective, neutral lens that's also an expert to really help you shift your perspective and shed light on the path forward. And it's up to you to decide which seeds you want to nurture, which direction you want to go. So I don't think working with a coach, the onus is not on the coach to give you the results. The onus is on the coach to help you find your why and help you align to your strengths to get you to where you need to go. So absolutely. I think that you had a really great coach, because I think some people mistake coaches as teachers. I mean, they can certainly teach and point you in the right direction, but ultimately the empowerment, the accountability of your life resides within you. What you want to create out of your life is based on what you're interested in, what you're good at, what you want, right? And so it's about how can we eliminate those barriers or roadblocks to really help you blossom and thrive and plant those seeds that are one day gonna come to fruition. So that's really awesome. The other thing that you said that really resonated with me was your desire to have a particular life, to be present as a mom, to, that outweighed the fear, because Again, when we start out, we all start out somewhere at some point. Doesn't
Yep.
matter if you're 18, doesn't matter if you're 45, doesn't matter what it is. If it's a brand new day at a corporate job or brand new day as an entrepreneur, there's always that imposter syndrome. So we alluded to the fact that we have to get through it by doing it and
Yes.
acknowledging that that's a very natural emotion and very natural feeling. And really what helps you get through it, whether you're going to take that risk to like see it through to the end, is if your why is big enough. Because if you kind of don't want it, then yeah, why would you want to put yourself in this uncomfortable situation where you might fail or you might flop or whatever you want to consider that to be?
Hmm.
It's if you want something bad enough, you will push yourself through it and it's gonna feel uncomfortable at times. So those are points that really resonated with me based on what you said. So having said all
Absolutely.
that, I think you've definitely made this case for online business or digital business. Is it synonymous with lifestyle business? Because I know I've heard you use that term as well. Can you explain?
Yes, it is for me, but you have to be careful. There are a lot of online frameworks, online business coaches, and online business owners. It's very easy to get caught up in still working a 60-hour work week in at your home office, and
Yep.
that to me is not a lifestyle business. So if you prescribe to the fact that you have to be living on social media and you have to be doing interviews every single day, hosting your own podcast, doing your own podcast, you're trying to write a book, you're working with coaches, you're running groups, you're running a Facebook group, and you're doing emails and you have to run Facebook ads, but you might have to be learning all of these things. So you're also taking all the courses to learn all of these things. Suddenly, this is hardly a lifestyle business, right? I think that's ultimately what people are sort of, a lot of gurus are sort of selling at the end of the journey. It's sort of positioned as you pay this price for a little bit, but then you can be just working on your laptop in Tahiti. You know, so you have to be careful that it's not necessarily a lifestyle business. For me, it that is the whole point of me doing this. So there's a couple things I'm very careful about with my time. I keep my online business very, very simple. So, I have my Shine framework for my business. Shine Online is the business I use to help other women create their own online business. And I use the Shine acronym to describe my method, which is S is, keep it simple. H is harness the power of the internet, but we do it in a very simple way that is, very systems based, automatic, frees you, protects your free time, whatever that means for you. I is identifying where your strengths and passions lie and then where that intersects with market demand. So we were very strategic about, what your online business should be about. If you choose one thing, you're going to end up working a lot harder than if we sort of find that sweet spot that is a zone of genius for you, or something that's very unique, or something that's very easy for you, that's very valuable to others. If we can zero in on that, you're going to have such an easier time. It's going to be so much more simple for you. And in my framework is to navigate. So I have a very specific framework I help clients through to create their virtual business that is very much freedom based, lifestyle based. It always comes back to that, because to me, why do it otherwise? I mean, who cares? You go get a job if you want to work 60 hours a week, Um, and then E is empower. So a lot of that is helping clients get past that imposter syndrome and just these common fears that everybody has when they're doing something new. But that big one, to circle back to keeping it a lifestyle based business, is very much about keeping it simple. So, for me, I don't live on social media. If you look at my social media accounts, they're very pathetic. It hasn't held me back from my online business. Now, some people, they love social media. So it might be a client I work with. That's one of the ways we promote their business in a big way, because they love it and that may be very easy for them. For some people, they are talkers and they want to do the podcast route. That's great. So it's very much about working in with what's easy for you, what's your just natural sort of workflow or communication style. But it's not about doing all the things. It's about being very strategic about what's going to move the needle for you, what's easy for you, what's natural for you. And so I also like to be aware of, I have this conversation with every client before I start working. I'm very clear that this is not passive income. If you want passive income, I guess go get a rental property. This is freedom-based income. So you're still going to have to market your business, but it can be, so for me, it's all about that freedom and flexibility. Right now I have an 8-year-old. the child that inspired it all. But I also have an almost 2-year-old. So for the past couple years, I've been back in baby mode. And so sometimes they nap, sometimes they don't, sometimes they're teething, and just the schedule gets totally upended, and there's a, whining child in the background all the time. So, for me, it's about that flexibility that sometimes I'm often working during nap time or when the kids are asleep. Doesn't mean I don't want to work. I actually love to work. It's about that flexibility where if I don't get my email sent out today or written today, the world will still turn and I can get to it tomorrow or the next day, or
Yeah.
being very strategic. Things like Facebook ads. Those are running in the background for my Princess Ballerina business, and I'm at the park with my kids. So it's also, it's freedom based, but it's not totally passive. But it's a lot less. It's a lot more passive than it was running my brick and mortar business. I will say that under any circumstances.
You again, I'm just loving this conversation because in my last episode, or I guess by the time this comes out, this won't be my last episode. So a couple of episodes ago, I shared the word of the year for 2023, and it's ease. Because again, I'm fairly new into my entrepreneurial journey, and I feel like I'm doing all those things that you mentioned. I am taking the courses, I'm launching this, the podcast is out, I'm writing a book, I'm coaching people, and I'm doing all sorts of other learning to figure out how this all works, including social media. That's like a whole new beast that I'd never dealt with before. So a lot of time and effort is going into it, and it feels great because it's very inspired. It allows me to be creative. It's something I'm passionate about. However, it's taken up a lot of my time. And originally, when I went on this journey, it was with this freedom, time freedom, location freedom, financial freedom. That's what I want for me and my family. That's what I want to support other people if that's what their version of success looks like. I mean, everyone's version of success is different, and that, I support people through different things, but that was what it was for me. And as I was reflecting back on my first year, I certainly don't regret any of the things that I went through because I think they were all very necessary. They got me to where I was today, which also brings me to another point that you alluded to earlier, which also really resonated with me and has been a topic of even podcast episodes themselves, is the whole connecting the dots piece, how you didn't necessarily know where you were going, but all of those pieces really like brought you to where you were. It was like by magic almost. And I kind of felt like that for me. But the one piece that I did take away from last year was that yes, you want this, and yes, you're doing all the things, but do you really need to do all the things? And do you need to do them right now? Like, why is this so hard? Like, this is, you did this to enjoy your life, not to be working 24/7. And so I'm trying to simplify now. I'm trying to scale back. I'm trying to do all sorts of things. In that particular episode, I did allude to like 5 strategies that I'm using to implement ease in my life. And it'll be, I think, again, another learning journey, right? I'm really excited to see what you're finishing up year 2 will bring for me in terms of reflections, because I think every year you go deeper into entrepreneurship, you're always learning. But
Absolutely.
always different goals, always different things that will come out of it. So there's so many things here that resonate with where I am in this stage of my life, and I'm sure for my listeners as well. So having said that, if someone were thinking of starting an online biz, because obviously we know how amazing it is or has been for you, where should they start?
Yeah. So, a selfish recommendation is I have a book called Shine Online, and it's written for that exact person. So, the way I even got into helping other women create their virtual businesses, this entire time I've had mine, I've had people, moms at my son's school, or just people who, know me in quote unquote real life, have, Megan, will you help me start an online business? And they can see, like, you don't really seem like you're working all that much, but I know you have this business. I think I'd like that also. And for a long time I said, no, I just do it. I don't teach it. Like, there's all these, and I would recommend, a book or whatever, go read Russell Brunson's book or Jeff Walker's book, and, you can dip your toe, and then that's going to open up this whole world. And there's these gurus, and they'll teach you. And so for these whole past 8 years, I've had people coming to me, and that was my token response. And then, almost 2 years ago now, or about 18 months ago, a friend of my sister's, so an acquaintance of mine, reached out to me, and I told her that same thing. A couple months later, she reached out again. A couple months later, reached out again. again. And so finally this third time I thought, okay, let me just get on the phone with her and find out what she's looking for. And it was in that moment that that knowledge gap finally like clicked with me of, okay, here's this person, she's an expert in her thing, but she has no idea how to package it up. She has no idea how to get it in front of the people who need to see it. She has no, she has no idea how to do all of that stuff. Like, and I know how to do exactly, just in our phone call, I could see exactly what she needed to do, what the brand needed to be, where she needed to market it, how she needed to package it. Like, it was just so like, duh to me. And so it was that knowledge gap finally became clear. And so, but I told her, so it's like, I've been obsessed with this for now, 20 years. I can't teach you like the copywriting and direct response marketing and the tech side, but I will just build it for you. Like, I'll teach you how this all works, but it's going to be so much faster if I just build it for you. And that's exactly what she was like, yes, please. Like, I don't actually want to learn how to do all of this. I just want the business so I could teach my thing to the people who need it. And so that's what we did. And it was amazing and it was awesome. And I had so much fun doing it. And so that was like, okay, I want to do more of this. This was so fun, helping someone create their virtual business. And so now I'm more open. So now when the conversation comes up, I'm going out to, you're meeting people for coffee and you're kind of saying the same thing. So I wrote the book. The book is exactly for that person who's like, can you help me start an online business? And so, but there's this starting point. So the book is called Shine Online. It's on Amazon. And it literally it's like sitting down with me for that 1 hour chat. It's not the great American novel. It's an overview of what I did, how I did it, how you can do it too, some exercises to help you kind of go through like, what am I passionate about? Where is my experience? And help you work through where might there be some market demand for that, to help you figure out, because that's where people need to start. Everyone loves the lifestyle idea. I mean, that's an easy sell. Like, of course, we all want to have money pour into our bank account while we run a Facebook ad and work from home 10 hours a week. Everyone wants that. And as soon as they allow themselves to be like, okay, I want to do that. Okay, but what would I do? Like, that's the next thing everyone goes to. So my book walks people through that exploring that. But then also, I like people to have the overview of like, here's the process. You're going to have to kind of create a brand, and here's how to do that, and here's the resources I've used, and I kind of just share my journey. I share a lot of client examples of their products and that value ladder. So what is sort of like going to be your freebie? What's going to be maybe the one-on-one thing you offer for people? And then if you want to create sort of this like DIY course in the middle of your value ladder, like what would that look like? How are you going to structure all that? So that is why I created my book, and it's based all in, it's not, like I said, a lot of other people who teach this stuff, they have their method, and that's great, but to me, it wasn't simple, and it wasn't easy, and it wasn't freedom based. So my methods are all very lifestyle based. They're all very simple. And so, that is why I wrote the book, to share that with people who want to take this first step. It's very much geared towards beginners, and it's very much just giving people those first steps and exploring for themselves, what would I do and how would I do it, and then, to be clear though, I do give people, once they get that framework, you really do have two options. The reality is you can do the DIY route, which is what I did, because I love this stuff. I love marketing. I love sales. I love copywriting. I'm born to create online businesses. But a lot of people, the people I work with as clients, they have no interest in learning copywriting or, the tech side, getting the links, connecting in a sales funnel. Nothing could be more of a nightmare for them. And so the truth is, you don't need to learn that stuff unless you're going to do it for other people. You can just, I work with them and I do it all for them. And it's so fun and easy for me to do all of that stuff. I'm born to do it. And then they can just share their passion as that, food-based, what am I trying to say here? The plant-based, food coach, or that leadership coach, or, the swim school coach who wants to now teach other swim school people. Like, you can be your expert in your thing and have your whole sort of virtual business set up for you. So
that sounds great. So whether you are looking to DIY it or not, I
Right.
think we found a valuable resource in you, Megan. I'll be sure to link to your book in the episode description. And so I think with that, do you have any final pieces of advice for people that are going to be contemplating the online business journey
I
affiliate?
mean, I'm a huge proponent of, just go for it and take that first step and explore it, because it can absolutely start off as a side hustle. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. In fact, I encourage people to do it as a side hustle for a while, because it takes the pressure off of like, oh, it's not like you have to leave the full-time job that you've been doing for 20 years and go into this total unknown. You can start moving down this path, get started, start learning. I mean, I sold my studio a year after I started my online business. So it absolutely started as a side hustle. But once it started working and the income surpassed what I was making working a heck of a lot harder for it, it was so easy to then, let that brick and mortar business go to someone else, which another studio ended up purchasing it. So the classes continued, the students continued, the teachers got to continue with their jobs, which obviously I felt really good about. But for me, I was able to step into this new frontier. So I do like to throw that in, that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. If you feel called to this idea of a lifestyle business, of sharing your passion, your expertise, whether you are in the season of motherhood or beyond. I work with a lot of women who are older and they're moving more into the season of retirement from their professional career, but they want to continue. This can totally serve that purpose as well. So be willing to just take the first step, start exploring, and it doesn't have to be all or nothing. If it starts to go well and you feel more confident about it, then you can sort of phase out the other and move into this more and more. So, there's no harm in getting started.
I totally could not agree more. Megan, it was such a pleasure having you on the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in. And for all the rest of our listeners, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Anita Chat podcast. If you haven't taken a minute to leave a review, I would absolutely love to hear from you. All you need to do is to search for the show, click your star rating, and type in a few words. Also, if there's a specific topic you'd like to see covered in this podcast, if you'd like me to be your coach, or if you want to just chat, feel free to send me an email or shoot me a message through my IG, which you'll find in the show notes. The show notes will also contain any links to the freebies that were referenced in this episode. Until next time, friends, it's been great chatting with you.